They called him Doc, a Southern gentleman turned killer, a man who smiled at death because he was already dying. Born in 1851 in Griffin, Georgia, John Henry Holliday was supposed to live a quiet life, not a violent one. He was brilliant, educated, and even graduated as a doctor of dental surgery at just 20 years old. But fate had a darker plan. When Doc was diagnosed with tuberculosis, he was told he had only a few months to live. So he did something most wouldn't dare. He stopped waiting to die and started living like every day was his last. He packed his bags, left the comfort of Georgia, and rode west into the dust, the danger, and the destiny of the American frontier. In Texas, Doc traded his dental tools for cards and pistols. His charming manners and razor-sharp wit made him popular, but his quick temper made him deadly. By the time he reached Dodge City, whispers followed him. That's Doc Holliday, the man who coughs blood and kills fast. Doc Holliday's story became a cornerstone of Wild West legends, blending truth, myth, and mortality, the rise of a man who turned his ticking clock into a gunfighter's code. It was in Dodge City that Doc met Wyatt Earp, a lawman who would change his life. They were opposites, Wyatt stoic and disciplined, Doc reckless and dying, yet somehow they understood each other. Both men lived by loyalty, not law. So when the cowboy gang terrorized Tombstone, Arizona, Doc didn't hesitate to stand by his friend. On October 26, 1881, the desert fell silent for 30 seconds that made history. Gunfire erupted at the OK Corral. Smoke, screams, chaos. Doc fired both barrels of his shotgun, killing Tom McClory. By the time the dust settled, 3 men were dead, and the legend of Doc Holliday was born. But fame brought enemies. The newspapers called him a murderer. Wyatt was hunted. Doc, coughing blood, ran from town to town, not from fear, but from fate. He once told a friend, "There's no normal life, Wyatt. It's just life. Get on with it." The gunfight at the OK Corral became one of the most famous events in American frontier history, immortalizing Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp as symbols of loyalty, law, and legend. By 1887, Doc was tired, his lungs failing, his hands trembling. He checked into a sanitarium in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, knowing it was the end. The man who lived by the gun would die in bed. One morning, Doc looked down at his bare feet and smiled. "This is funny," he whispered, his last words. Because after all the blood, all the duels, and all the pain, he'd always believed he'd die with his boots on. Doc Holliday was just 36 years old, but his legend never died. He was more than a gunslinger. He was a man who faced death every day and still chose to live with courage, loyalty, and style. From dentist to drifter. From gentleman to gunfighter. From man to myth. That was Doc Holliday, the deadly dentist of the Wild West. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, because we've got more real-life legends who lived and died by their own rules. Subscribe for the next Wild West story, and remember, legends never die, they just ride off into history.